Thank you, Madam Chair. Last month, you approved phase one of the UH Mānoa reorganization and asked for regular updates. I think this one will be a little longer than most months when I will have a brief update, but I wanted to lay out the entire process moving forward and all that has occurred in the 3 weeks since we met last. As you know, the Manoa Faculty Senate and its Committee on Administration and Budget asked that they be presented the entire campus reorganization at once. We respectfully disagreed, and phase one was approved. And thank you very much for allowing us to put the foundation in place so that we can continue ahead with phase two. And we are now operating under the interim organizational charts that you reviewed and approved last month. It is our intent to honor the will of the Manoa Faculty Senate on the remainder of the reorganization. That is to try to do it all at once. To that end, and given their communication to us of limited capacity to review too many reorganizations at one time, we have a lot going on. We have actually stepped back from phase two in order to prioritize two other reorganizations. And especially for the new regents, you may not be aware that while we were very focused on reorganizing the administration of UH Mānoa, that is the Chancellor's Office and the Vice Chancellor's Office, we also had been looking at several academic reorganizations, in particular involving some of the very small schools on the campus. Two of them we have asked the Faculty Senate to prioritize for consultation. Those are the re-merging of the Tim School with the College of Business, now Scheidler. And this would recreate the model in which our Tim School first achieved international prominence when it was part of the business school. And we believe it would strengthen the capability of the Tim School in the areas like executive education, community engagement, alumni relations, and philanthropy. So we're pretty excited about that opportunity. The other is a proposed merger of the Colleges of Language, Linguistics, Literature, Arts and Humanities, with the School of Pacific and Asian Studies. SPAS is also another one of our very small schools. And in this case, our objective is really to create a strong focus on the liberal arts on the campus, and to do so with a strong focus on Asia Pacific at its core, which we think is one of the strategic and competitive advantages of UH Mānoa relative to other campuses. We think this will also help take a pretty remarkable capacity around Asia Pacific in SPAS and throughout the university, and infuse it more deeply into our academic programs and build some more integrated strengths and capabilities in both education and scholarship, including bringing in extramural funding. So both of those proposals have been fully developed. They were done collaboratively. The second one, actually, we had to assemble a team. It was complicated enough. I can tell you today they do not have unanimous support. Yeah, there's something about people and change, I don't know. And these are large changes, in some cases looking at structures that have been in place for decades. The proposals are online, they're public, they are going through the consultation process, the formal consultation process, in accord with all applicable policies and procedures. Those are due to close May 13th. We have asked the Faculty Senate to focus on those, and we would like to have any action to be done take place before the beginning of the next academic year. So back to phase two, we have kicked off now 5 new teams looking at 5 areas where we will have new offices as described in the conceptual reorganization. Those are around educational excellence, student success, research, scholarship, and graduate studies, enrollment management, and equity, climate, and conflict resolution. These teams each have representatives from within the units. They also have representatives from the stakeholders, and they also have representatives from the shared governance groups. We are asking the groups to work over the summer with the goal of having an org chart and a functional statement that is the sort of the heart of a reorganization proposal by the end of September. We would then use the fall for informal consultation on each of those, with the goal of creating formal proposals that could then go through the formal consultation process in the spring to do the complete phase 2 in one chunk as requested by the Manoa Faculty Senate. So I know many of you are as impatient as I am. This is taking a lot longer than I ever imagined when we started. And I will also say it is the most dramatic and fastest moving over the past year or two of anything that has happened on campus for decades, if not longer. So I appreciate your patience as well. Calbert is scheduled to give a complete legislative update, but I like to bring fresh news into these reports. And yesterday was a pretty interesting day at the Capitol. Two of our bills achieved, they haven't been passed on the full, well, they have passed the floor votes, I take it back. So the legislature has approved two of our bills. One was continuation of the funding for the Hawaiʻi Promise program for the community colleges. We are disappointed we did not get the money to extend the program to our four-year campuses, but we needed this correction just to maintain current funding for the community colleges. So we're grateful that that moved through without much drama. More exciting, just because it's new, is that yesterday the legislature approved $455,000 for the HINET program. I think most of you heard the briefing on that, the Hawaii Nutrition Employment and Training Program. That currently reaches about 290 students on 4 of our community college campuses, and the added funding will allow us to expand to about 1,000 students across all 7 community colleges. So we had a press event yesterday. We had our committee chairs from both chambers standing with us, leadership from both chambers, Vice President Morton, Mike Mosier was with us, and most importantly, we had students who benefit from these programs on the podium and talking about what the programs mean. Following that, we had a press event upstairs with the governor and NELHA, the Natural Energy Lab of Hawaii, and we celebrated the signing of a contract by NELHA on Monday with an outfit called Hatch, which will help us establish a sustainable aquaculture accelerator in Kona. And the idea is these will be companies that will be developing aquaculture technologies in Hawaii that can advance the state of aquaculture both in Hawaii and globally. And I want to thank Vice President Sirmos is here. He really spearheaded UH participation in this with NELHA along with HSDC and HTDC. Two real estate projects are moving that we're asked about regularly. First, let me comment on the Atherton since we last spoke. We have received 3 proposals for public-private partnerships. They are all credible. They are being reviewed by our joint UH Foundation team. We do plan to select one proposal to go into exclusive negotiation, and the anticipation is that Regents will be briefed in more detail on the overall project status and probably on the selection at the next P&F committee meeting, which is scheduled for the beginning of next month, so just a few weeks away. For now, we are working completely within the framework of previously approved board actions, so we're not asking for anything new. Executive management is leading and contributing on this project with UH Foundation. Vice President Young, Vice President Sirmos, and Susan Yamada looking after the innovation hub aspect of it. There are multiple models for how the student housing would be provided, and we're keeping Vice Chancellor Ideta abreast, and we'll bring her in when we reach the point of understanding how our selected private partner views residential life services. As a teaser, Vice President Young does report that based on the proposals received, the project is looking, and I quote, very promising. Secondly, I want to comment on another piece of real estate. Hardly a day passes that we aren't asked if we will be buying the St. Francis School property. I think most of you know St. Francis has announced they are ceasing operations. It's a very interesting parcel directly adjacent to the UH Mānoa campus going back into the valley. We are asked this by faculty, by staff, by community members, by legislators, It won't surprise those of you who know him by regions. Even a former governor is interested, if you can imagine one who lives in Manoa. If you think of the Y as a once every maybe 25 years opportunity, when that parcel came on the market, we really felt like we needed to figure how to keep that in the UH family. I think St. Francis is probably a once every century kind of opportunity for us, given the size and adjacency and opportunity with that particular parcel. We have been engaged already. The property is actually owned by a the Syracuse-based Franciscan Sisters, not the local school, not the local school board. And we've been engaged with a number of parties about this regarding a potential transaction. And Vice President Young and I will be meeting with the leader of the Franciscan Sisters when she's in town next month to better understand what that opportunity might look like. We have asked the legislature to provide us some revenue bond authority in the budget for this transaction. If it were to materialize, there is nothing concrete to report, but we would like to have the option available. And we are definitely not ready to propose any specific actions, but again, we'll keep the board briefed as the situation develops. I think most of you are aware our formerly #1 ranked men's volleyball team at UH Mānoa is now #2 ranked. This is we're getting to the end game here. So they will be playing Friday night. Hopefully they will be playing Saturday night. Hopefully they will be playing the first weekend in May in the national championships. And, you know, go Bows. But I also, you know, we overlook the other places that we excel sometimes. So following their regional performance, our Kapiʻolani Community College culinary team has once again been invited back to the national finals of the American Culinary Foundation competition. Only 5 teams from the entire country are invited to participate. That will take place later this summer, so congratulations to Chef Jason Peel of KCC and his students for their astonishing achievement, and they have been there before, and we're ready for a #1 finish this year. I wanted to close my portion with a pretty remarkable scientific announcement that came out of Hawaii and indeed the world over the past 2 weeks, and we were briefed and sworn to secrecy under embargo a little bit beforehand, but producing the first image of a black hole is a huge accomplishment. I'm not a physicist nor an astronomer, but this provides stronger proof than ever before of aspects of Einstein's theories of relativity. For people who considered black holes to be a theory, they are a theory no longer. We have an image of one. This was a really amazing accomplishment, and the way they did it was they got 8 telescopes around the world to all point at the same place, and it's in the Messier 87 galaxy, for about a week in 2017. So the data is over 2 years old. There was so much data produced at these 8 locations that disks had to be shipped to central supercomputers to process. New algorithms were developed to understand this data and eventually create what looks like a pretty simple image, if you can imagine, to screen through all of that. The purpose of using these 8 telescopes strategically located is they actually created a planet-sized telescope that gathered the data from all of these different locations that they could then correlate together. Hawaii's part of this is that 2 of those 8 telescopes are located on Mauna Kea, which was an extremely strategic location to create this planet-sized telescope. And that's pretty remarkable. Those 2 telescopes are the SMA, the submillimeter array, which is owned and operated by the Smithsonian and Academia Sinica in Taiwan. The other one is JCMT, the James Clerk Maxwell Telescope, which longtime regents may recall was abandoned by the Brits, and we accepted ownership of it about probably 5 years ago, soon after I became interim president. So it is currently operated under our ownership by the East Asia Observatory, which is a unique collaboration involving China, Taiwan, and Japan, which, if you can get your head around that, that have a formal collaboration to operate on Mauna Kea together. So that's very interesting, but just as exciting to me is before the announcement, our astronomy community reached out to Larry Kimura, I think very well known to all of you, considered by many to be the father of the revitalization of the Hawaiian language. He's on our faculty at UH Hilo. So I just want to close with this 2-minute clip of what he did and how he gave this first black hole to be imaged the Hawaiian name Pōwehi.
It's enormous, and its size is larger than our entire solar system. And that's what we're imaging, is that gas that's flying around at that close to the speed of light, and then it's the light produced by it bent by the strong gravity of the black hole.
It immediately, of course, takes me to this major documentation, the source of darkness, Kumulipo. Pōwehi. Po is this fathomless, powerful, ceaseless creation, darkness. Wehi is an adorning embellishment.
Pōwehi, as a name, is so perfect because it provides real truths about the image of the black hole that we see.
We look at it through the Hawaiian lens as genes, our genealogy. There is this connection between astronomy and this whole question about where we come from.
To be able to deliver the first image to the public of a black hole is really, really special.
So Larry tells us that he has another 100 or so names ready to go as this continues to develop. And Dan has advised us, I think, that this is the most viewed UH news story in our history.
Video, I think.
Video.
Over 70,000 views.
Yeah, over 70,000 views of that particular clip.